A man does not usually get taken out by one big failure. He gets taken out by 1,000 small moments where he knew what to do and he did not do it. He did not fall, he froze. Freezing, repeated long enough, looks exactly like a man who quit. Last week we said half obedience always hides behind one word: later. I will deal with it later, once things settle down, when I am ready. And we said the gap between agreeing and doing only closes when a man stops waiting to feel like it and moves. But I left something out, because later has a reason. A man does not say later for no cause. Something is stopping him from moving when God has already spoken. And most of the time, it is one of two things: fear or passivity. This week we deal with both. My name is Zach Powell, and the way I understand what God has called me to is simple. We are called to be soldiers, disciples, and fishers of men for Christ. Soldiers because this life is not casual. There is a real enemy, and no man sits it out. Disciples because none of us is above the word. We are under it, still being formed. And fishers of men because as disciples, he calls us to pull others out of the dark and into his light. This is the third teaching in a season, built on a book I wrote called Lessons of the Father. We are laying a foundation, one stone at a time. Guard your life, no half measures, and now this. I call fear and passivity the twin killers. And I call them twins on purpose, because most men think they're two different problems. They aren't. They are the same failure wearing two different faces. The failure is this: refusing to move when God has already spoken. One man refuses because he is afraid. The other refuses because he just will not get up. But God is looking at the same thing in both of them: a command given and a man who did not move. Let's take fear first. Listen to what Paul tells Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Timidity is not from God. Paul says that plainly. The Spirit God put in you produces power, love, and self-discipline. Fear produces the opposite. It shrinks you, it narrows you, it freezes you. And here's what you have to understand about fear in a man's life. It almost never announces itself as fear. A man will not say, I am afraid to leave my home. He will say, I do not want to start a fight. A man will not say, I am afraid of that conversation. He will say, now is not a good time. Fear disguises itself as wisdom. It dresses up as patience, as caution, as keeping the peace. But it is the same thing underneath. It is a man avoiding what God told him to do because doing it feels dangerous. And I know this one. I know what it is to call something patience when it was really just fear. To wait on a thing, not because the timing was wrong, but because I did not want to pay for it yet. So I am not preaching down at you here. I am telling you about a face I have seen in the mirror. Now hear what God says to Joshua. This is a man standing at the edge of the biggest responsibility of his life. Chapter 1, verse 9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Notice what that is. It is not encouragement. It is a command. Be strong. Be courageous. Do not be afraid. You cannot command a feeling, so courage is not a feeling. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is obeying while the fear is still there. And notice why God says he can do it. Not because Joshua is strong enough, not because the enemy is weak, but because the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That is the whole thing. Courage is not confidence in yourself. It is trust that God is with you when you move. So fear is the first killer, a man who will not move because he is afraid. But there is a second man, and he is harder to see because he does not look afraid at all. He looks calm. He looks fine. He looks at peace. He is just not doing anything. That is passivity. And James has no patience for it. Chapter 2, verse 17. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Dead. Not weak, not immature, not a work in progress. Dead. James is talking about a man whose faith never moves. He believes the right things. He would pass the test on paper, but his belief does not change a single decision in his home. And James says a faith like that is not alive. Passive faith agrees with the truth and avoids the cost. It values comfort over obedience. It is a man who would rather be still than be responsible. And here's the part that should sober every father watching this. Listen to what passivity costs. Not what it costs you, what it costs the one who comes after you. Judges chapter 2. After that whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Read how that happened. It was not a war. It was not a sudden disaster. It was one generation that did not fully drive out what God told them to drive out. They were not rebels. They were passive. They left a little. They tolerated a little. They did not finish. And the very next generation did not know the Lord at all. That is how fast it goes. One passive generation, and the next one is lost. Your children do not inherit what you believe. They inherit what you do. If your faith sits still, they will not catch a faith that sits still. They will catch nothing. So hear how the twins work together. Fear tells a man, do not move. It is too dangerous. Passivity tells a man, do not move. It is not that urgent. Both end in the same place. A man standing still while God waits for him to obey. And both are killed the same way. Not by feeling braver, not by waiting for motivation, by moving. By taking the one step you have been avoiding, while the fear is still there, because you trust that God is with you when you go. Faith that moves is alive. Courage that moves is real. Everything else is just a man freezing and calling it something nicer. So here's the charge this week. Find the thing you have been freezing on and move on it. You know the one. It is the step you have been calling bad timing, the conversation you have been calling patience, the decision you have been calling prayer. When the truth is God already answered, and you are just afraid to obey. This week, you take one step on it. Not the whole thing, one step. The first concrete action you have been avoiding. Make the call, start the conversation, say the hard sentence. Do the thing your faith has been agreeing with and your fear has been blocking. And do it while you still feel afraid. That is the whole point. You are not waiting for the fear to leave. You are moving because God is with you, and that is enough. One step this week on the thing you have been frozen on. I will be doing the same. Same road, same fight. If you need this, subscribe and walk the season with me. These build on each other, so next week assumes you were here for this one. And if you know a man who has been standing still for too long, send this to him. Next week we go somewhere most men never let anyone see. Because everything we have talked about so far, guarding, obeying, moving. It all gets decided in a place no one is watching. The man you are when the door is closed and no one would ever know. That man is the real one. And that man is the one God is forming. Next week, the secret place and the weight you were given to carry. Until then, one step, while the fear is still there. Stand firm in the faith, and I will see you next week.